Speaking of trenches, this is a guy who's more in the trenches that I'll start this one off. I did not think we were going to get this guy and Trent Williams on this team. That is Alex Mack. He got paid, I think it's like 5.5 a year for 3 years, something like that. I don't know. Is that correct?
3-year deal. I forget the dollar amount over the course of 3 years, but I know it's 3 years, and I remember it being in the ballpark of $5 million a year.
Yeah, man, $5 million a year for a center, one of the best centers in football, one of the best centers available in free agency, and you bring him to this team to fill a need, which I said that Ben Garland could be the starting center. The reason being because we needed to pay Trent Williams. And I did not think we were going to get those two. And we end up getting Alex Mack on a fantastic contract, in my opinion. This is a signing that, Kyle Shanahan loves his centers. He brought in Weston Richburg for, at the time, a lot of people said that was a lot of money. And now you're bringing in Alex Mack. It's for, significantly less money considering their play style and their caliber of a player as well. But you bring him in, lock up the offensive line. You get this one of the biggest offensive line needs off the team. Bang, bang, overnight. Right there with Trent Williams, Alex Mack. Right guard is probably our weakest spot right now, but getting a center to help the right guard is crucial. And that's why I now think you're probably in the draft, you're probably avoiding a guy like Rashawn Slater. Even though I love Rashawn Slater, I do believe he would fit well for this team in at right guard. You don't necessarily need him. You could go cornerback round 1. You could go quarterback round 1. You could even draft an edge and trade back or do something like that. It gives you so much more flexibility in the draft. So having those two guys locked up, Trent Williams and Alex Mack, just provides so much flexibility for this team. It's so crucial how we brought both of those guys for under 30 million, which is ridiculous in my opinion. That is fantastic for this team. I've spoken enough on Alex Mack. Nick, what you got to say?
Well, I want to go back to something that you brought up about who could potentially fill in that center spot before Alex Mack was signed. I think Ben Garland is an excellent offensive lineman, and he's another player that the 49ers brought back for a second consecutive year. He was scheduled to hit the market last free agency. They brought him back. Of course, he battled injuries this past season, but I think he is a great depth piece on the offensive line, and Alex Mack is a huge get. I just looked up the numbers, and I want to shout out Charlie. I saw he just dropped the comment. I see Charlie commenting on my stuff on Twitter quite a bit. The numbers I saw were the 3 years, $14.85 million, so right around that $5 million range that we were talking about. But the reason why I really like the Mack signing is, and I tweeted this out, just having a center that's been around the block, has the big game experience. Alex Mack, he was the all-decade center of the 2010s. Being able to bring him in and bring that leadership on the offensive line, being able to hold his peers accountable, that is going to be so important. And it reminds me of when the 49ers brought in Jonathan Goodwin, a longtime center for the Saints, when Jim Harbaugh first came over in 2011. And he really helped the young offensive line get going. This 49ers group isn't as young as that 49ers offensive line group was in 2011 with guys like Mike Iupati and Anthony Davis, who were really young in their NFL careers at the time. This is a more experienced group, I'd say, with Laken Tomlinson, Trent Williams, Mike McGlinchey's now going into his 4th year. So this Mack signing, I just love having that veteran presence in the center, literally the center of the offensive line, playing that center position, a guy who can communicate well to his teammates, change whatever blocks need to be changed pre-snap. That is a huge get for the 49ers, and I'm really looking forward to the leadership and the communication that he's going to bring, even though he's getting up there in age. If I remember correctly, he's going to be 36, or maybe he's already 36. If I remember, 36 in November. So he's definitely towards the tail end of his career. I don't know if he's going to play out that entire 3-year contract, but regardless, this is a huge signing that's going to have a huge influence on the 2021 season.
Absolutely. And I want to bring up one point that you talked about a little bit, communication. That is something where you saw multiple reports last year saying that the 49ers offensive line could not communicate with this quarterback. That could have been a center problem. That could have been a quarterback problem. Either way, it's a problem. Now you bring in a guy who has been a respected veteran throughout his entire NFL career and a very lengthy one as well. So you bring in a guy who knows what he's doing. He knows how to communicate with the quarterback. He knows how to communicate with the offensive line. He was a captain in Atlanta. So he knows what he's doing with communication. You bring that communication aspect in, this offensive line gets even better than it was before. And yes, it is definitely sad to see Weston Richburg go. It's definitely sad with that injury, that patellar tear, for that to happen. But Alex Mack, in my opinion, is an upgrade over Weston Richburg. I know there's age, but a 3-year deal for a 36-year-old. I mean, yes, he's probably on his last limbs right there, but he's been able to stay durable throughout this. And Callie brought up a good point. 34, 35 years old last year, 1 sack. That's phenomenal. That is absolutely phenomenal for any offensive lineman of any age. And when you're doing it at 35 years old or 34 years old, however many years he is right now, that's phenomenal. So overall, I love this signing. I mean, A+ for me easily on that signing, and the Trent Williams signing as well. I just had to say, I mean, the fact that we got both of those guys is insane to me. I never thought that would happen.
Agreed. And here we are.
For sure.